Swastika, a name that needs no introduction. But the way it is perceived, it definitely does need. It does need an introduction. In the West, the swastika is a symbol of hate, racism, and horrors of the Holocaust. If you have any interest about the world's history, you definitely know what I'm talking about. And in a diametrically opposite manner, East, it is perceived as a symbol of trust and is the untold history of swastika. Let's get started. In this documentary, let's break it down into three parts. The first one is the heritage of swastika, how well it is popular across cultures around the world. And the second one is how swastika is abused by the Nazis. And the third one is the most important reason why I'm making this documentary film, the Vedic heritage of swastika, its actual roots. Let's get to these topics. And that's the first chapter, the heritage of swastika across the world. A picture speaks thousand words, and so do the symbols. Right from the beginning of time, since humans came into existence, symbols in the cave paintings are one of the earliest known articulations of human thoughts. And with the evolution of the civilizations, a progression has been made by carving those symbols onto the walls of the temples or the tombs. And with further evolution, the script got evolved. Human articulate thoughts in form of alphabets or symbols. And if we go deep down, say the Hindi letter Ka or the English alphabet K or an Urdu alphabet Bay or a number one plus sign or even swastika, technically all are symbols representing a meaning and a purpose. Even our alphabets are also symbols, just that we have raised to that level of consciousness where we identify an alphabet with a sound, calling it as an alphabet and not really as a symbol. Let's try in doing this. Say, for instance, I assume that you don't know Chinese, just any random Chinese alphabet. It is just impossible for us to identify that it is an alphabet. We don't know whether it is an alphabet or a number or a symbol. So deep down, everything are just symbols. Once we get educated about it, then we start understanding and identifying them as numericals or alphabets or just symbols. And swastika is one such symbol with a clear-cut intent, meaning, and purpose. And let's try to understand what it is eventually in this documentary. A very interesting thing with swastika is it is one of the oldest symbols which has been continuously in existence since thousands of years. Take a look at the pottery here, which is from Greece. 760 BC, 400 BC, 800 BC. So that's almost like 3,000 years from now. And if you observe the way these symbols are hand painted thousands of years ago, is one thing we can say it for sure, that the symbol took the center stage in the aesthetics of that particular pottery. It is not just an ancillary decoration. The painting of swastika on these pottery is clearly intentional, and the maker really want to have this in the center, taking the center stage. Swastika is also found on the coins of the ancient civilizations like Minoan civilization, which is older than the Greek civilization. And the Greece itself, we have certain coins with swastika dating as far as 550 BC. And swastika is also found on the ornaments in the ancient civilizations that thrived in the Eurasia. And these, what you're seeing on the screen, are one of the oldest ornaments from Italy to Scandinavia, at least 2000 to 2500 years ago, currently under display in different museums, having swastika as part of their aesthetics. And like this, swastika has been found in many places across Europe, Asia, and Africa, and some traces in the Americas as well, dating back to a couple of thousands of years. And one point what I'd like to make here is swastika is a reasonably complex symbol, and it cannot just happen by intuition. Say, for instance, if you're talking about a square or a triangle, so these are very simple. Swastika, as you see, it's not that simple, or you cannot just into intuition or just coincidence. It cannot be a coincidence. It is definitely a common cultural fabric that has been shared by these ancestral civilizations. How the swastika traveled across these cultures over thousands of years. And many of these cultures do not exist, very difficult to understand what is the cultural connect with swastika across the civilizations, which are long in time. But when we get to the east, things are swastika is very much alive in the Islamic world in the traditions like Sanatana Dharma or Bauddha Dharma or Jaina Dharma. In these practices, swastika is very much an active symbol of peace, prosperity, and well-being, and is highly revered with all these three dharmic traditions. In Sanatana Dharma, especially in the world, if Sanatana Dharma is revering swastika for a good reason, there must be definitely very deeply connected with it. But what's most important thing here is these three traditions, Sanatana Dharma, Bauddha Dharma, and Jaina Dharma, put together, they represent 91% of the global population. These three dharmic traditions, which include Sikhism as well, but they do not worship swastika directly, but they do revere one of the holy symbols as it belongs to the dharmic. We're talking about 21% of the global population revere highly it as one of the auspicious symbols. Yet, in the West, swastika is a symbol of hate and racism. And let us try and understand how the symbol of peace got transpired into a symbol of hate. And that brings us to the second chapter, the abuse of swastika by the Nazis. And I want to talk as little as possible about the horrendous Nazi ideology. And just for the benefit of people who do not know about it, you have definitely heard the word of Hitler. He is a barbaric dictator in Germany, and his ideology was certain race of people who are certain races of people impure, and they kind of persecuted the Jews in millions, which is often called as the Holocaust, and is nothing less of what the British did to the India. The swastika was abused by the Nazis as their emblem. Now, I just want to focus on one very important data point regarding this abuse, and that is the reason I'm bringing this up. Let's see what it is. To get to the root cause of the abuse of swastika by the Nazis, we have to go back to India to early 1800s. Those were the days when the India is under the colonization of the British. We have Sir William Jones, who's posted in Calcutta as a judge, and William linguist and has immense interest in understanding the Oriental languages, including Sanskrit. And in the year 1821, he published his discourses or his research on different Indian languages, especially on Sanskritam. And his research holds an incredible place in the world history of last 200 years. This research of William Jones has transpired many things across India as well as across Europe. Now let's see what is it about. And here is a page from Discourses of William Jones, and I'm quoting it. The Sanskrit language, whatever beats antiquity, is a wonderful structure, more perfect than Greek, more copious than Latin, and more exquisitely refined than either, both Greek and Latin. So basically, what he's saying is the Sanskrit language is more perfect and beautiful than Greek and Latin, two main languages which are the foundational pillars of the Western civilization. And here is the most important thing. What he says is that no linguist could examine all these three, Sanskrit, Latin, and Greek, without believing them to have sprung from some common source, which perhaps no longer exists. So basically, what William Jones here is hypothesizing about is that Sanskritam, Greek, and Latin, all three of them have one common ancestral language which do not exist today. It is a hypothesis that he puts forward. And this hypothesis was eventually taken by people with vested interests, and they brought in a cooked up theory called as Aryan invasion theory. Now, I'll not get into AIT what it is. If you're not aware of it, please do your reading. Like I said, people with vested interests who are more racist in nature, and India is already been under the occupation of Europeans back then. So they kind of cooked up a theory called as Aryan invasion theory, which says that India was not just colonized now, but it was already colonized thousands of years ago by their ancestors who were Aryans. to establish that certain sects of Europeans belong to this Aryan clan. And this theory is abused by the Nazis to cook up a theory of Aryan race, and you know the whole story. This hypothesis, made by William Jones, and the presence of swastikas across the world in the ancient civilizations led to this horrendous Nazi supremacy ideology, which eventually led to millions of deaths and the World War. And the rest is history. And that's how the swastika is abused by the Nazis without knowing a thing about what it is or where it came from. Brings us to the third chapter, telling the Vedic history of swastika and where it all started. Let us try in decoding this mysterious symbol. This is not any standard, but this is just my analysis. Any symbol that you take has three very important components. Let's see what they are. Let us say I want to invent a symbol to convey an idea. The very first thing is the intent of the symbol. And in our context, why is that many ancestral civilizations use swastika? What has been their motto? Now, that is the very first facet what we need to understand about swastika. And moving on to the next, the construct of the symbol. And here in our context, why is swastika written the way we know today? And why is it eerily similar across the cultures around the world? Why is that swastika written the way as we know today? That is the most important question. And then moving on to the third one. And why is the symbol named as swastika in first place? Are there any other names to it in other cultures across the world? Now, these are the three very important questions that we need to understand. Let me give a simple example and things will be a lot more clear. Say, for instance, take mango, the fruit. I want to write it down. Now, the very first thing is my intention to write the word mango. Now, moving second part, the construct of the symbol, which is here, I want to write the spelling of a mango. So I have to write M, A, N, G, and O, all these alphabets in a sequence. That's how I'm constructing this word. And the third one is calling the name. Now, how do I pronounce mango? The phonetics, the way I'm pronouncing mango, giving it a name and calling it back saying that this is a mango. Now, my intention of thinking about a mango and wanting to write the spelling of a mango, plus the construct of the word mango, plus giving it a name or pronouncing it as mango, all three are in one line and all three have to match. I cannot think of mango and write the spelling of an orange and call it as an apple, right? It's that simple. Same way, what is the intention of swastika? Why is it constructed that way? And why is it called as swastika in first place? All these three should perfectly match, not just for swastika, but for any alphabet or any symbol across the world. Now, again, I say this is not any standard. This is the way I looked at things, and this is my analysis. Now let's try to understand the intent of swastika, the construct of swastika, and the name of swastika as to why is it called swastika. And let us start with the easiest one, the name of swastika. What does it convey? Now, this is very well known to many of us. Swastika is a sandhi of two words in Sanskritam, su and asti. Su means auspicious and asti is happen or may it happen. So the word swastika means may the auspicious happen. It's a kind of a blessing. Now let us try to understand how swastika was called in the Greek civilization, which is the cradle of the Western civilization as we know today. What did the Greeks call it as? They call it as tetragrammaton. And the meaning of tetragrammaton is tetra as in four, and grammarion means the one that's made with four gammas. Gamma here refers to the third Greek alphabet gamma. Alpha, beta, gamma. So you see here the gamma, how it looks like an inverted L. So basically what the Greek version of swastika, it is called as the tetragrammaton, means a shape which has four gammas. That's what it means, tetragrammaton. Now moving on to the infamous Nazis who abused swastika. What did they call us? They did not call it as swastika, but they call it as Hakenkreuz, which means hooked cross. A cross as a plus and which has hooks in the edges. So that's what Hakenkreuz means, a hooked cross. Now if you see these two words, tetragrammaton and Hakenkreuz, both explain the physical properties of the symbol, right? The way we see and perceive, they're explaining the physical properties of the symbol, while the Sanskrit word swastika explains the ideological property of the symbol. Swastika does not explain anything about how physically the symbol is constructed. Rather, we chose to express the intention behind the symbol. So one thing which is very, very clear without any doubt is the intention and the construct, the three things what we saw just now, two of these things, the intention and the construct, are in line with swastika, but absolutely there is no intention being conveyed behind tetragrammaton and hakenkreuz. They are just explaining the physical properties of the symbol. That's all. And the reason why I just took these two is the Greek civilization, as we know, it's the basis for the current Western civilization of this modern world. And that's the reason I picked up Greece. And the Nazis, of course, they are the ones who made it infamous. So that's the reason I just picked up these two. But you can do your analysis in which all languages it is called differently and try to find out whether it is reflecting the ideological position of swastika or the symbol, or just explaining it physically. This is point number one. And let's move on. Now that we understand the name of swastika, the intent of swastika, do not look on the three things we discussed: name, the intent, and the construct. These three should be always in line. And we just finished off with the name, and now we are into the most important topic, the intention behind swastika. So, getting straight to the point, Rigvedam and Yajurvedam, these are the two ancient scriptures, especially the Rig Veda, which is the oldest known ancient scripture in the whole world. In these two Vedas, there is something called as Swasti Vachanam. And what you're seeing here is Yajurveda, word Swasti Vachanam. And the meaning Swasti Vachanam means, or good words. Now, clearly from the Vachanam has a very noble purpose. Now, let us try and understand what it is. Now, Swasti Vachanam or Swasti Mantra, or is also called as Swasti Sukta, a couple of names to it. So basically, Swasti Mantram, there are sets of Vedic hymns that pray to Parabrahma, Indra, Vayu, and many other Vedic gods for universal peace and prosperity of all living things on this earth. One very interesting thing with Sanatana is here people pray for universal peace. It doesn't say that it prays only for the people who believe in it. Understand what I'm saying? That is the reason we say Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu and not Sarve Hindu Sukhino Bhavantu. Anyways, let's get back to Swasti Mantra. Now, what you're seeing towards the right is around 7 to 8 verses from the Rig Veda, which is nothing but the Swasti Mantra itself. And this is one of those 8 verses, and here is how it reads. Swastina Indro Vrudasravah, Swastina Pusha Visvavedah, Swastina Staksharyo Aristanemihi, Swastino Bruhaspatir Dadatu. And the translation is, may God Indra of great fame bless us, may the omniscient Pusha bless us, may the protector Garuda bless us, and may Lord Brihaspati protect us. Now, these are the prayer hymns in which the word swasti is repeated 4 times. Like I said, the word swasti means showering the blessings of the gods, of prosperity, well-being. In that connotation, it is used. Now, this reference from the Rig Veda is the oldest known reference of the word swasti, which is the root word for the swastika symbol as we are using today. And like this, the whole Swasti Mantram continues, praying to the Vedic gods, seeking their blessings for prosperity and peace and well-being in life. And in these 7 verses, the very first one, it says that, let the noble thoughts come to us from all the 4 sides. Read the sentence. It's a literal translation of the first word, Ano Badra Kratavo, and so on. So let the noble thoughts come to us from all 4 sides. And the translation continues. But the important point, what we need to observe, is the very first line of Mantram, which says that let the noble thoughts come to us from all 4 sides or directions, is very much reminiscent of the articulation of swastika symbol with 4 legs. It could possibly be the same reason. And then the whole Swasti Mantram continues after that. Now, this is going to be a bit open-ended as we're going to analyze the facts as it is. Swastika is very often attributed to Sri Mahalakshmi. So there must definitely be certain relation between Sri Mahalakshmi and swastika. Now let's try to understand the word Lakshmi. And the Sanskrit meaning of Lakshmi is Lakshyate iti Lakshmihi. Basically, what it means, we have a goal or a lakshya in life. Progressing towards that lakshya is our topmost priority for each and every one of us. And the mother goddess who takes care of us in the journey towards our lakshya is the mother goddess Sri Mahalakshmi. In fact, the Hindi word lakshya or the word Lakshmi, both in one, it's the same. So swastika could be reminiscent of the prosperity journey towards the Lakshya. However, there are no scriptural references that I came across, at least till now, which confirm this hypothesis of attribution of Sri Mahalakshmi to the swastika symbol. Nonetheless, since many years this has been the practice as part of Hinduism. One really swastika is attributed to Sri Mahalakshmi, then we also need to understand there is something called Yantra and Sri Vidya, where Sri Mahalakshmi is often consecrated in the form of a Sri Chakram or a Sri Yantra or Mahalakshmi Yantra. So there are two geometric diagrams in which the divine feminine is consecrated. What you're seeing on the screen is a very ancient manuscript which shows a yantra that is drawn with hand. It is part of the Sri Vidya. Like this, we'll be able to get to the bottom of Sri Vidya somewhere to understand where exactly this symbol is coming in from. When I'm saying coming in from, I'm referring to the geometrical articulation of swastika. So, with the very best available sources, what we have, two very important things. Iti Lakshmihi. So, representing market, that is one part of it. And the second one is Swasti Vachanam, which says that let the noble thoughts come to us from all four directions. With this, and the third being the ancient tradition of drawing swastika in temples and in the places of worship, down to the fact that swastika is very much reminiscent of Sri Mahalakshmi. Top all, the first one is name of the swastika. It comes from the Sanskritam word swastika, which means may the auspicious happen. And the second one is the intent of swastika, articulated in Rigvedam and Yajurvedam as part of the Swasti Vachanam, which means the words of blessings. And the third one is construct of swastika, or Lakshyate iti Lakshmihi, representing a swastika and is reminiscent of Sri Mahalakshmi. Now, the name, intent, and the construct, all three perfectly add up the reason why swastika represents prosperity, well-being, happiness as part of human lives. And this is the reason behind the Indian tradition of having swastika in our homes, unknowingly representing the mother goddess Sri Mahalakshmi. And the question as to how swastika became a shared cultural fabric right from India up until Ireland in Europe. How come this divine symbol of swastika, which is very native to Bharat, traveled across Eurasia? That is a question that doesn't have an answer till now. But whatever it is, in whichever civilization that we are referring to, these three aspects should be perfectly aligned. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense. And this alignment, at least till now, we can find only in Bharat. And this is the untold history of swastika. As always, thanks for watching.
Great day, brother. Great day. Great day. I see you up with me. A few people in the chat. Nobody's spoken yet. I guess those are the ones that are always just lurking since they haven't, said anything in the chat. But grand risings or late evening to you, brother. I actually have another video I want to play. Let's see here. All this information, if whoever sees this later, you guys know, this is going to tie into the stuff that we talked about. That we always talk about. That is, constructed lies and things of the nature. So we're gonna get into that, Unica. I hope you are having a great one, bro. So yeah, let's get into this next video real quick. Really? That's what you do.
In 1918. And I learned that those troops stayed there 2 years in conjunction with Japanese troops and some British and French naval support. They went all the way to Lake Baikal in the middle of Siberia. We also had troops up in Murmansk and Archangel up near Norway. And I thought, how is it that I, a history minor in college, never learned that? So I went back to my college history book written by Richard Hofstetter et al. And I found everything that Hofstadter had deigned to tell me about that invasion, we could really call it. And it was the following half sentence, speaking about World War I. American troops were withdrawn from Europe by 1918, with the exception of a contingent from Vladivostok in 1920. So there's a half sentence about how we took our troops out of Vladivostok on April Fool's Day, it turned out, in 1920. Nothing at all about how we put them in. That's an example.
What was the origin of this book?
I taught for many years at Boogaloo College, a college in Mississippi that is predominantly African American. Then I moved to University of Vermont, so I went from the blackest to the whitest college in America. When I was at Tougaloo, I was distraught by the fact that my students believed the following myth about Reconstruction. They believed that Reconstruction was that time period when black took over right after the Civil War, but they were too soon out of slavery, and so they messed up, and whites had to take control again. Now, that's a terrible misstatement of what happened in Reconstruction. For one thing, the southern states were governed by a black-white coalition led by whites. They did not go under black control. For another thing, many of the southern states, particularly Mississippi, had good government during Reconstruction. In Mississippi, the state government during that time period started the public schools for both races, whites as well as blacks, wrote a terrific new constitution, and did other things. And I thought, what must it do to people to believe erroneously that the one time that they were on the center stage of history in the American past, they messed up? What does that do to your self-concept? So I looked into how had my students learned this? Why did they believe it? And Tougaloo was a good college, is a good college. They had learned what was in their high school state history books. So I put together a coalition of students and faculty, and we wrote a new history of Mississippi called Mississippi Conflict and Change. The state rejected it for public school use. And it's another story, but we actually took them to court about that and won a First Amendment victory. So then I moved to Vermont, and I realized that in this way, as in so many other ways, Mississippi was not exactly different from the United States as a whole. It was just an exaggeration. In other words, I got interested in American history, not just state history, and realized that it too suffers from tremendous distortions and omissions and even lies.
What's your reaction when you drive down the highway and you see historical marker ahead? And then
I stop.
And then you stop and you read it. How often do you believe it?
It's a very important question because I call it lies on the landscape. I mean, we've got these historical markers all over the United States. The first problem with them is what isn't commemorated. I mean, all kinds of major events go unremarked because they're controversial or because they don't maybe show the United States in the best light. A recent one I drove past, in fact, I was situated near it for a week, is in upstate New York. And I was teaching on one of the Finger Lakes, teaching a bunch of history teachers, actually. And there's a marker there for General Sullivan's raid against the Iroquois during the American Revolution. And it's got some very interesting doublespeak in which the marauding Indians messed up settlers and their and moved the frontier. Well, if you think about who's the settlers are actually the Iroquois. And in fact, part of what Sullivan did was burn their cornfields, destroy their orchards, and tear down the settlers. These were not wandering people. These were not nomads. The marker could best be understood using a phrase from William Buckley, polemics, history as the polemics written by the victors.
You say in the back that you worked on this book for 11 years.
Yes.
Where?
At the University of Vermont. I spent 2 years also at the Smithsonian Institution. I'm possibly the only living American who has slogged through 12 high school history textbooks from cover to cover. And then besides that, I had to do a lot of research on the things I've just talked about, for instance, the putting of troops into the Soviet Union, so that I would make sure that I got the facts straight.
Back in the back flap, this is going to be a little bit difficult to do. We'll get a close-up of it. Are the 12 textbooks that you wrote about? How did you choose these 12?
Well, for various reasons. I wanted to pick some of the bestsellers so that I would cover at least the textbooks that more than half of our students read. And there's one book in particular, it used to be called Rise of the American Nation. And after we lost the war in Vietnam, it got retitled Triumph. It has over a fourth of the market by itself. Publishers are leery of divulging sales figures, so it's a little hard to know after that one what's the bestseller, but I tried to include several of the very popular books. I also included 2 older books. These are called inquiry textbooks, and they were written during the 90s. They were a little different. The other 10 books we would call narrative textbooks. They just tell a straight chronology and tell it pretty much in the authorial voice, the kind of omnipresent, omniscient, here's what happened and then here's what happened next. But the inquiry textbooks include more emphasis on primary sources, and then they ask students questions that hopefully get them thinking. These textbooks are no longer in print. The inquiry text movement didn't find favor with teachers, and it went out of existence.
Do people who write high school texts for history make a lot of money?
If they wrote Triumph of the American Nation. That is, if you get 1/4 market, that is a bonanza. And every textbook, it seems, and every publisher wants to have that book. And therefore, these books end up clones of each other. It surprises me. If you think about it, the city in which we are speaking, Washington, D.C., the school board is under black control. The same is true for Detroit, for New York City, for many other cities, and for some districts in Mississippi, for instance. But there is no black-oriented U.S. history. There's no U.S. history that, in fact, is what we might call multi-centric. I would say they are all Eurocentric. They are all clones of each other because each one wants to be the next Triumph of the American Nation.
How does a book start?
We're going to write a history book. I think the first thing that Scott Forsman or Macmillan or whoever was engaging us would do is they would send us 5 or 6 competitors, and they would say, this is what you're up against. And I believe they would be saying also, make sure your book includes the stuff these books include. And the result of that is that the process is supposed to be one in which the textbook is based on the underlying secondary literature and history. There's a terrific secondary literature and history. It's what I read. It's what I based Lies My Teacher on. Lies My Teacher Told Me on. It is not a matter of you have to go back to the primary sources in every little detail. But the textbooks are not based on the huge secondary literature and history there. And thus they repeat some errors that go all the way back to the 1890s.
Is there anybody out there that kind of puts their imprimatur on textbooks that say, okay, this one's all right, that one isn't? And if they do that, who are they?
That's a good question. In one sense, no, there isn't. That is, you would think the history profession might, or there might be a review journal. Basically, history textbooks are not reviewed, at least high school textbooks. Even college textbooks are generally not reviewed.
By anybody?
By anybody. The history profession considers them a little bit dirty. That is, like, if I were a historian and I were applying for a new job at the University of Washington and I'm already at the University of Vermont, the fact that I might have written a history textbook would not count in my favor. If I'm looking for tenure, if I'm looking for advancement, they are looking, the deans and the history departments. They are looking for me to write a wonderful monograph on Andrew Jackson or whatever my wonderful monograph is about. They're not looking for a textbook. They consider them kind of dirty, kind of done for profit. At the University of Vermont, the former dean made a distinction between scholarship and what he called pedagogy. And textbooks would fit under that latter heading, and get very little credit. And the same holds even for the review journals. They're busy. They take their time writing reviews of monographs. They do not bother reviewing books.
What was the first?
I got interested in history as a result of being interested in sociology. In fact, to me, good history is the sociology of the past. Historians listening. But it seems to me that the important thing we want to know about the past is, how did it shape us? What are the main things going on that caused us to be what we are like today? And going to Mississippi, which I did actually as an undergraduate for a semester, and then going back there as a faculty member.
Where were you in school when you went?
I was at Carleton College as an undergraduate, and
Minnesota?
in Minnesota. And I took my junior semester abroad, as it were. This was way back in 1963, and it was right after the Ole Miss riot, and to Mississippi State, which was then the largest all-white segregated institution of higher learning outside of South Africa. It did not have a single black student. In any white school in the state was one person, James Meredith, at Ole Miss. So that was a great time to go. It was a great time to see social change happening right before my eyes. And naturally, I got interested in the past.
How did you get to Carleton College in the first place? And how many African Americans were there at Carleton College?
When I was, I applied from Illinois. It's not an unusual thing to do from the Midwest. I had actually, I had some family involvement at the college, so I had known about it. Sixth black student in the history of the college, and the gold. Now, since then, Carleton has done a much better job. It was now 8 or 9% black, which is quite good for a college located in rural. That meant, however, that when I was a junior, I had almost no experience with black people, particularly in high school, which is another reason I wanted to go to Mississippi. I wanted to learn about different from the Midwest in which I grew up.
What was the town in the Midwest you grew up in?
Decatur, Illinois.
What did your parents do there?
My father was a doctor. My mother was a housewife, and then also a junior high school librarian.
What kind of family was it? How many brothers and sisters?
One sister. We lived in the white part of town. We were Republicans and just pretty straightforward.
So, guys, I want you all to see, like, this white guy, I guess, telling you the exact same thing that we know about what actually affects us, right? He even is offended by the lies. And what did he tell you? He didn't grow up with any, per se, blacks in his school. It was predominantly white. He had one black student that was there. Being in that area, not having the experience or knowing anything, so you can imagine the things he was taught about black people. You remember a couple of weeks ago, the guy was saying on there how his father told him they were in the war, and the guy said that one of the soldiers, after being in the Navy with him for years, he saw him in the shower, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, you don't have a tail," because Dad told him that black people have tails, stay away from them, this and that. So these type of things are like, it's saddening to know that they will tell their children these type of things, right, and how they can affect people, right? We talk a lot about light, plasma, energy. I talk to you guys about frequency, spirit, all the things that affect you. I talk to you guys about the mist. I know a lot of times people don't see every video. It's hard to get around YouTube and see every video of a person you're interested in, what they're talking about, when a lot of people have interesting information. So sometimes you may miss some piece of information. But we've been talking about recently, just to catch you up, My whole premise is to kind of break down a lot of the lies and dissemination, the spell binding on the brain and the spirit and the body, and everything that coincides with that. The things that try to entrap the soul, keeping the soul stagnated, not allowing it to ascend, not allowing it to be free and light as it should be, so on and so forth. So these are the things that we are having issues with right now. Success, that just means you seem me more in my masculine energy. And you are correct. All right, sis. But that's me. Y'all already know. You get these labeling things. So what I've been doing is trying to make sure I am, how can I say it, not sticking to one particular area. It can be interesting when you're learning things. And to me, there's so many different things that I've learned over the years. As I tell you, got a lot of studying. Not to say that I know so much, but I definitely know a lot. I know I've devoted enough time to say that I can say that. So the things I've learned and trying to condense things into a mind frame or to, like give you guys examples of things I'm talking about. It's good to be roundabout in different areas so that you're able to see, visualizing things, hear different voices, different people from their experience, so you can actually tune into the way they felt about the situation. It makes you understand it a little better. Reading a lot of old books, disseminating history and lies. You guys know when we coincide, we go between different things. I'm going to read something to you guys as well. I think it's important. Not really important to what we were watching in the video, but important to everything that we've been going through in dissemination and, connectors and things that go on with us, right? So basically, we have to make sure that we are doing things, guys, that are keeping us in the right frame of mind. We've been talking about the NIS, all the different things that affect our brains and our minds, our physicalities, the things that we're taking in, different chemicals that actually affect your body and that can transmit certain biohazards to the brain. The biohazards to the brain come from a certain stimulation or a dissemination of cells and certain things that you need to function correctly in your body, certain minerals and things of that nature. Salute, sis. So, actually, working on some things. So, when it comes to that, guys, a lot of these things are important when it comes to what's going on with our body and how our brain is affected by these things. So, we're going to go over something really quick here. This is just, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we'll read a little bit on it. This is basically on brain divisions, right? The three main components of the brain, namely the brain stem, the cerebellum, and the forebrain. These are elaborated below, so we're going to discuss that. The brain stem, it's the lowest part of the brain which merges with the spinal cord. So it's very important because the spinal cord actually helps with everything, the fluency in that with how you're operating, you're moving. The brain actually helps with the fluency in how you're operating the muscles and certain limbs that you have on, so on and so forth. So these are connected. So you need these two things to operate proficiently, right? It consists of the medulla, the oblongata, the midbrain, the pons. Okay, and the brainstem is connected between the rest of the brain and the rest of the central nervous system. So it is connected to everything that is pertaining to your nervous system. So this particular part of the brain was the first to be found in the evolutionary chain thought that has developed over time and via evolution to develop into two other components. It is primarily concerned with the life support and the basic functions such as your movement. As I was saying, that's why this brain stem is connected to your spine. So if there's something that happens with your neck, someone has a neck injury, a lot of times they're paralyzed. They have some type of spinal injury or a lower back injury, they can be paralyzed. All these things have to do with the nerves and the spinal cord, okay? Thus meaning that more advanced processes are left to the more evolved areas of the brain as explained in the cerebellum. The cerebellum consists of the two hemispheres. I talk about this all the time, right? The two hemispheres in the brain. We're thinking about the things that are in our mind and in our brain that actually are separated, and there are two different things that they actually operate. You have one brain, but each side makes a particular part of the body function in its own self, right? So let's see. Okay, so it is primarily concerned with the life support and the basic functions. As I said, the movement, thus meaning that more advanced processes are left to the more evolved areas of the brain. So we're going to get into that. Um, all right, let me move the screen up just a minute, guys. Okay. Okay. So as I said, the cerebellum is consisting of two hemispheres. The cerebellum is primarily concerned with the somatic motor function. Motor is the movement, the motor function, and the control of the muscles and the tone and the maintenance and the balance as well, right? Having to do with your balance. You can be unstable, you're walking, you're kind of thrown off. That's a mental issue. A lot of times you're just having some issues with a dysfunction in your brain. Something is not connecting, something is not retrieving the correct electrolytes to the brain cell, and now there's a dysfunction or a shortage per se. You can be thrown off balance. So the structure can be found below the occipital lobe and adjacent to the brainstem. I don't have the pictures here to show guys because I don't want to pull up another screen, but you can look at a picture of maybe I can get a book, let you guys see what I'm talking about. Let me see as I keep reading. I'll pull it up. One of these books has something in there. The interior and the three the three principal divisions of the brain, including the prosensipathole and the thalapincipathole. No, look, I'm not saying it right. I know I'm not saying it right. I don't know why I'm tongue twisted. Thalamencephalon. Thalamencephalon. Okay. The forebrain lies above the brain stem, the cerebellum, and is the most advanced in evolutionary terms. Okay. Now, the forebrain, we're going to talk about that really quickly. We'll be done with this real quick. The forebrain has many activities that is responsible for and is divided into many component parts. The below list elaborates on the localized areas of the forebrain and their function, which is the hypothalamus, as we talked about, the section of the brain found next to the thalamus that is the thalamus, right? This is pertaining to a very important thing. We may get into that or not. I'll see. That is involved in many regulatory functions such as the osmoregulation and the thermal regulation. The osmoregulation. Sorry about that. The hypothalamus has a degree of control over the pituitary gland. So this is why I said the as far as the thalamus, pituitary gland, all these things in that same area, and they are pertaining to a lot that has to do with your pineal. Another part of the brain situated next to it and also controls our sleeping patterns. It also controls our eating, and it also controls the drinking and speech. If you're having issues here in this area, you may have a dripper lip. If you're drinking something, it's like, oh, like, where's my lip? Like dropping this water. I know I was like holding the cup or the glass, like my lip was firmly on it, but I'm dribbling, right? There may be some cognitive issues going on. You may have to check that if you're noticing that, right? Keep that in mind. Now, the hypothalamus is also responsible for the secretion of the antidiuretic hormone via the secretory glands or cells, rather. So, with that, I need to put a little light on it here. Hold on, guys, because I'm having a hard time with some of these words. It's kind of dim here. I don't want to wake anybody up. I'm talking a little low. Let me get this light on, and at the same time, I can see what's going on with this book to show you guys the area we're talking about. Hold on one second, guys. Give me a minute to go grab this lamp because I don't want to turn this light on. Be right back with you guys. All right, guys. So it's a little better. See these words a little bit clearer. My goodness. I'm going to show you what this is here. Okay. So that is the hypothalamus gland. Hold on a second. Let you guys see this real quick. Okay. Hold on a second. This is the okay. Okay, there you go. This is the hypothalamus gland. There. There. And the thalamus is there. I think it's you guys right. You guys can see where the picture's showing you. Okay. Okay, so with that, I'm looking a mess. Let me just cover this up. Sorry, guys. I am definitely looking a mess. I've been asleep all evening. That's when I'm up. Y'all know I don't do no late night bills. I put together some stuff for one of my customers and was working on something for them. And after I finished that, I went and laid down, and that was kind of it. But yeah, let's get back to it. All right, so you see how they're connected right there together. Yes, I know I wouldn't listen. I wish I wasn't looking at this. I want to show. I might have to still pull up some more pictures for y'all, but we'll see. I might just get to an album when I finish reading this. I'll close something else down and pull it up. So, all right. So, voice to the center of the brain. Where we the cerebral or cerebellum? We're reading cerebellum. No, we were just reading. Yeah, cerebellum. Okay. So when it comes to the cerebrum, the cerebrum is the largest part of the. I said the cerebral. We weren't even talking about that. Y'all know I'm a little off too. Hold on. Half up. I haven't eaten anything. I fell asleep without eating. I'm drinking some tea right now, but I probably should snack on something. Hold on. Okay, so the cerebrum is the largest part of the human brain and the part responsible for our intelligence, right? That's responsible for our intelligence and our creativity. And also it's involved in our memory. The gray matter, which we talked about before, I don't want to get too much off topic. Y'all know I'll do that. But really quickly, the gray matter is the pliable part of the brain. It's that particular area that is pliable. So when we think about something that's pliable, think of like a putty, and it's able to be molded or changed or shifted, so on and so forth. When we think about it being a part of that area, right? And knowing that very important part is responsible for our intelligence and for our creativity and for our memory, right? You have to think of it being tapped into. So you know how we talk about different things that can actually shapeshift your reality into a matrix of whatever is presented to you, and it's not really actually that, right? It's actually a false ascension of something different, a spirit, a nature. Technically, we've talked about it. It's the NIS, the NIS. Look it up, NIS. It's also the DIF, the DIFF. We talked about that. I showed you guys, broke it all down. We talked about it on the different strokes video. Remember, it talks about and shows you the technical implication. The NIS is the same thing. The NIS is the sin. It's backwards. This is how I ran across this word. I mean, I've run across things because I've researched certain information. So I'm thinking about like sin and devil and live and God. Do you guys remember that video we did last week on that? If you didn't, you should go back and watch it. It was very, very intense. So when it comes to that, the NIS and the DIP, these things are actually able to be applied in that gray matter area in the brain, the cerebellum. The cerebrum. And when we're thinking about that and that intelligence and the creativity and our memory being affected by certain things, right? All these things are having to do with stories, lies, history, make-believe, falsities that are turned into truth, the truth turned into lies, cover-ups, things of these natures. So just keep that in mind. As I said, I don't want to get too much off topic, so let me get back to it. So as I said, the gray matter, that what we were just talking about, of that is the cortex and the center that receives information from the thalamus. So the thalamus actually sends the information to penetrate through the cerebrum, so that it's able to get this information to help with your creativity, to help with your intelligence, to help with your memory. And these things are enhanced with certain things within you, or they can be taken or disseminated upon based off of certain things that you are doing or not doing correctly with your body. Putting things in that mess with it, so on and so forth. So, once again, the center that receives the information from the thalamus and all the other centers in the brain, all of the other centers in the brain, that part. So anything that is that part that is pliable. Great day, bro. I didn't see you in there. I was reading. Great day too. So yeah, all those things that are pliable, all those things that are able to be changed or shifted into something else or molded, right, into something else via a waveform, via the technical experiences that we have right now that we're running off of in this world. This is how they're able to connect to you, your thoughts. This is how they're able to, when you're thinking about something that you may want to go to the store, and then you turn your phone on, and sure enough, there you see an ad for it. These type of things are happening because they are tapped into through the technical, right? And this is through that gray matter. This is where the hollow space is, that the World Wide Web is a technical frequency. It's a particular frequency, right? We're not going to get too much into that. As I said, I don't want to get distracted. Okay, so anyway. So the cerebral cortex, part of the cerebrum, this part of the brain deals with almost all the higher functions of the intelligent being. The cerebral cortex deals with the higher functions of the intelligent being. It is the part of the brain that deals with the masses of information incoming from the periphery, the nervous system, also furiously instructing the brain on what is going on inside of its body and the external environment. Not only the body itself, but what's going on in the environment around your body. It is the part that actually translates. And just to clarify that, we're thinking about our, how can I say it, our telepathic abilities, our ability to discern, our ability to pick up on, like, oh, this feels like something's, not great. I'm walking down a dark street, I'm walking down a dark alley, and, someone's behind me. I don't quite see them, but I can feel the presence. I can feel the energy of something, right? This is that perception. This is what perception, the things that we perceive. We may not be able to see them, but there is a perception within us. And our brain picks up on these things because we are connected to the environment. Because we're connected to the environment, we're actually able to tune into it. This is why we are able to have telepathic abilities if you are on the correct frequency and being in tune with yourself, being in tune with the person that you are familiar with or that you're in constant contact with, right? So that's what's going on there. So it is that part that translates our nervous impulses. You know what an impulse, right? That's instinct. That's just something that is natural. It's nothing that you plan, nothing that you work on, nothing you got to think about too hard. None of that. Yes, sis. Yes, that sis. See what I told. I love my freaking chat. Cause y'all everything. Y'all be knowing everything. Y'all be right with me. That's why y'all vibe over here with y'all girl. Cause y'all be fitting right with what it is. Say it, sis. It's the motherboard, right? This is why the computer, the KHEM, they spell it CH, but there's no C. It is the K, the KHEM, the computer has the same construction as us. I've told you guys multiple times. The computer is formatted, constructed after us. Everything that is within the motherboard of the computer system is the same thing that our body fluctuates off of, and the way that it's run, the way that its chemical makeup is, the way that the components and the physicalities are. And like you said, sister, it shows that is literally the motherboard. So let's finish this. And part of the cerebral, did we just read the periphery. Okay, I didn't finish it. Okay, right here. This is where we left off at. See, when I get running my mouth, I lose track. This is this part that translates our nervous impulses into understandable, quantifiable feelings and thoughts. Our nervous impulses into understandable, quantifiable feelings and thoughts. So important is the cerebral cortex that it is subdivided into 4 parts, right? We're going to talk about that. But I want to say something else. I don't want to talk too much. Y'all know I'll get to going. But real quick, when it comes to that, right, when we're thinking about the nervous impulses, as we said, right, into our understandable, quantifiable feelings and thoughts, this is what I say to you guys when I'm talking about the wave formatting. So when we're thinking about the wave formatting is the information you're pulling in. I told you guys, you're pulling in about 10,000, 1,000 bits of information. I'm saying it incorrect. You are pulling in about 10 million bits of information. And out of the information, your brain is trying to decipher all of the information and then give you what is going on based off of the information. But it can only process so much each second, not minute, but second. So your brain starts to take this information, starts to make the quantifiable decisions, and projects for you the image, the thought, the trajectory, the imagination, everything that it wants to, based just like a computer would in a system. So that's kind of what's going on there. So we'll read this real quick. And it's been about an hour. Yeah. Wanted to do a quick late night build. I don't ever be up this late because I'm usually up. I'll probably be back up in a couple of hours because I had sleep. But I'm not really tired. But I have another very important build. I don't want to get into it here. It definitely should probably be on its own. So let's finish this up. So the frontal lobe. This is found at the front of the head, near the temples and the forehead. The frontal lobe is essential to many of the advanced functions of an evolved brain. It deals with the voluntary muscle movements and deals with more intricate matters such as your thoughts and your speech. So you know, if someone like gets hit in the front of their head and that area right on their forehead, it can impair their speech and their voluntary muscle movements. So this is something that can be affected just from someone hitting someone, something falling on their head, in the area, so on and so forth. So the parietal lobe is situated behind the frontal lobe. This section deals with the spatial awareness in the external environment, and it acts as a receptor area to deal with the signals associated with your thoughts. So if you're having some issues with your thinking, your dissonance is off, so on and so forth, that may have something to do with the parietal lobe, because what will happen is it sits right behind the area of the forehead right here. That's the frontal lobe, right? It's right behind there. So that section, it deals with your awareness. So your cognitive may be off, your dissonance may be off, your awareness as far as what's going on around you, the things that you should be able to perceive. Normally you're not perceiving them. These things could be off. So have that checked. The temporal lobe is situated in the parallel to your ears, so it sits right in between. So now the frontal lobe, then we have the parietal lobe that's right there, and then right slightly beneath it and behind it. Let me see if I can show you guys that as well. If this book has it. If not, I got a different one that may have it. And you can see all that the optical lobe and itself sitting. Hold on 1 second, guys. Nope. Hold on. That should be in this book for sure. Okay, here's the brain. Oh, I can show you how the stem cell sits on it. Okay, we'll do that too, real quick. So, let me read this and then I'll show you guys. So, It's situated behind the ears, serves the ears. It's interpret. It helps with interpreting your audio signals received from the auditory canal. So when you're receiving the information from the canal, it goes into the temporal lobe, and it helps you to receive the information, interpret what you're hearing, actually, and with what someone's saying to you, all the sounds around you, so that you can say, let's see, how can I say? You can say, "Oh, I heard a noise," and someone will say, "Oh, where'd you hear the noise from?" "Oh, it came from that way." you know. "Oh, I thought I heard such and such saying this. Where were they?" "Oh, it sounded like they was coming from upstairs." This is what that particular area helps you to always to be able to distinguish the awareness of things, and being able to send the signals and be able to interpret noise, sound, directions, things of that nature. Okay, we got one more here, guys. So, the occipital lobe, this is the smallest of the four lobe components of the cerebrum, and it is responsible for interpreting the nerve signals from the eye at the back of the brain. So, as we see, it says occipital, right? So, we know that the occipit, it is talking about the optical, right? So, it is a small component, and it sits back there, and it helps to send those interpretive nerve signals. At the same sense of that, it is pulling in a gray matter area. It can be manipulated. This we were talking about earlier with the light information, the coding, the things that may be sent in to give false ascension of different information, and so forth. So, guys, let me show you this real quick. Oh no, actually. I want to show you how the man in the. I'm going to show you something else. Uh, okay. Okay. This is. You guys see it good? Go this way a little bit. This is showing you. You saw earlier on the other page all the other ventricles. So now you can see the cerebral cortex right there, and you can see all the areas. They're distinctive. I want to show you guys the man in the boat, the man in the homunculus. I've talked to you guys about the homunculus, right? This is the homunculus. Does it? It looks just like a man standing there, right? Do you guys remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about a video? I showed you a video and I talked about how the shape is the man is like his arms, it's like a diamond and two diamond tips meeting, then it goes back out, somewhat like an hourglass. This is the man in your head. This is how the actual mind looks without all of the components of the brain around it. And this is the homunculus, HUMUNCULUS. So with the homunculus, what it does, it controls all of the center area, everything we just talked about. This is it. You see the gray matter, you see the area, everything. So that is that. Okay, that is that particular area, right? So when it comes to it, everything that we're seeing, right? Everything that we're pulling into our vision, our hearing, our our sense of smell, our sense of taste, our sense of feeling, even like on the intricate, like you know how you have your fingerprints. So that oil, there's like little small pockets in your fingers, in between those little lines where if you see your fingerprint, the ridges, the little suctions actually can pull in, it senses things. And like say if you're eating something with your hand, it's going to taste different than if you put some metal in your mouth with it. There's senses all over your body. Your skin is a sensory gland. It it fills everything. Like, so we just have to be careful what we're putting inside of ourselves. All these things, the clearer the body, the cleaner the mind. Um, yeah, just wanted to throw this little short video in as well, talking about some things that are important to your health, some things that are important to your mind, body, and spirit. These things that coincide together all affect you. If your brain is thrown off or dysfunction in any type of way, it's going to throw you off spiritually. It's going to throw you off physically, or vice versa. Any of the other things are thrown off, something else can get thrown off very easily. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, it do, sis, right? Sis said it looked like your brain was moving in the picture. Yeah, it does. It has the how can let me see. What do you call it? I have a lot of old books. This book has uh, the page. You can move the page and is it xylophone, that paper or something? Like you can move the page and it gives different pics up under it, like to make it look a different way. This book, man. This book got some pics in it. Let me see what's another. Um, let me see. This book is called. This is called. I don't know if you guys want to look it up. If you do, it's got a lot of information on it. It's called Big Head, a book about your brain and your head. It tells you everything. Big Head. Yep, the detox is order one with life size illustrations and see-through faces. So it's a see-through face. That's why you see how the picture looks on there. It's a picture. You can move it and it shows different cards and what's under it. Yes, this is a great book. So yeah, if you guys are interested in that type of stuff, you can definitely get that book. The other book, just so you guys. Oh wait a minute, I should not the camera. I should do that one. Let me show you this one real quick. This one is called the STEM. What is it? Oh, it's just called The Brain. Okay. Now, what you can do, guys, you know what they do with a lot of the libraries. Let me tell you something, guys, real quick. Now, I have some books that I have gotten from the library. Like, I can't even tell you the price of some of them, but um, some very good, expensive books on just the thing. I don't just buy a book because it's an expensive book. I will buy it if it's expensive enough, just so I know I can get a markup on it. I'll tell you that. That's another thing to do, guys. I mean, antiques go for a lot. I mean, if you can invest some time in things like that, y'all talk about Bitcoin and stuff. You have like certain things you can just go and sell them because it's an antique and get you a nice little piece of money. Yes, I got a detox, Unica. All you got to do is hit me and I will help you out with that. I don't know if you generally detox yourself. If you don't, if you do, that's great. So anyway, yeah, you can go to the library. Sometimes they'll have like a sale on certain books because they're trying to move books out to put other books in. And something that may not be that important to them may be great for you. So these two, actually not just this one, but this one as well. Big Head I got from the library, and The Brain I got from the library. I think I paid maybe $2 for one of them. The other one was like $1.50 or something. Yes, it's antiques. I am an antique freak. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to show y'all some of the stuff I be just loving to pick up stuff. I cannot leave it sometimes. I will go broke for something I want. I could care less about money. If I got the money and I want, I will spend every dime I got on something I want. But yeah, because I can always get it back. I got things if I really need money, I can go and like sell this, sell that. You can always pick up stuff. Money is nothing. It's nothing. Do what make you happy. So yeah, when it comes to all this, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this information. I hope it was beneficial to you. I hope that you can take anything in, especially even the swastika information. I know this topic was totally different, but with the swastika information, that was phenomenal to me. I knew a little bit about that stuff. Yeah, baby, hit me. I'll put my information in there. I get I did a little bit. I knew a little bit about the swastika information. Greatness, fam. But I was not very familiar. So since I wasn't very familiar, with it, I've been doing a little study on it before. I remember doing some studies on it a while back. And, most of the information I didn't really retain, or, it wasn't that important at the time, so I didn't really remember it that great. So sure enough, I was doing something and it made me start thinking about it. And I said, what, let me look up some information on it. And I saw a couple of videos. Some videos are, beneficial, some aren't. So I browsed through a couple. I ran up on that video. I was like, oh, I'm going to show this one day on the show because it's a very good video. I literally have like a list of videos I want to show you guys. I don't want to bore you to death with videos all the time. So this week was good because I had a lot. I had lined up to show you obviously certain things, but yeah, there's a lot of things I want you guys to see and listen to on some other people's information. I hope you guys enjoy my information, but other people have great information as well. So I like to share things that are also mind bending or opening or coincide with what we're talking about. So it makes it interesting. So yeah, I ran across that video. It was awesome. Did you guys really see that? And mind you, that was just part one. We didn't even see part 2 and 3. I didn't want to go too much into the details. The second video, obviously the guy's showing, even the white guy that's like, listen now, there's just too many lies for you to be trying to teach people these damn lies. He said, no, I'm writing a book on it. Like, we got to give him credit for that. I appreciated that. So I want to show you that. I didn't show the whole video. Maybe I could have put the link to that. If anybody's interested in the link to either of those, put it in the comments after and I'll make sure I put it in there. But yeah, those were pretty good. So he had more of his video. I only showed maybe about 30% of that video. And the information pertaining to everything that's going on in your brain and connecting these things that I've been trying to show you guys the last few months. I'm going to be getting into some deeper and deeper stuff. I've been, pitching things, showing you things, telling you things. So I just hope you guys are staying tuned. You guys are staying aware and knowing that I'm not wasting your time or mine by sitting up here trying to go over this information. And sometimes it takes a lot out of my day, a lot of research, a lot of study when there's a particular subject that I'm interested in or something that catches my attention. So I put a lot of research and time into it, and then I come back and I get on live and I share it with you guys. So I really hope you guys enjoy the information and you can find it beneficial. You can find it beneficial for yourself, your family, even if it's just one thing that you get out of information, that I try to go over. I'm appreciative of that. So yes, let me put information here again. Don't know if you need any particular help with anything, sis, but I have on my page, I have a general detox. I also have a pain oil that is for anything, gout, arthritis, inflammation, swelling, so on and so forth. Those are on my site. If you're interested in some particular, I do consultations and, specific teas for whatever your need is. So you can reach out to me. And my all of my customers that come from my YouTube, I actually give a deal. It's either like free shipping. Sometimes I do free consultation. Consultations are $30. If there's a specific thing that you don't know exactly what you need, so on and so forth. Like I said, the general detox is, anyone can use. It's just a purifier and a cleanser. But certain detoxes are specific. And I also do customize. So there's smoothie intake or herbal intake with the flowers. So if it's something general you are wanting to try, sweetheart, you can actually go right on my page and order it. Okay. All right. So, all right, babe. So yeah, you can email me if you want. If you want to do a consult to get something specific you're interested in because you're not really sure what you need, but there's something you want to work on. Yes, sis, you found part 2. Yeah. So basically, or you can just go to the website if you want to get a general detox. for a general cleanse. But if it's something in particular you're interested in, like trying to get some help with it, reach out to my email, babe, and then I'll contact you, and we can go from there. Oh, sis said she wants to see part 2 and 3. Okay, we'll do part 2 and 3, sis, since you said that. Maybe I'll do that early sometime this week, because we can just do a quick watch party on those two. I'll make a quick video and I won't keep running my mouth. So yeah, we'll do that. So yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this late night build. And yeah, I will be chatting with you guys tomorrow. Peace, love, blessings. Tomorrow, today, a little later. I may be up, so I might just do something in a couple of hours. I may get into the build. Should I show you a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about later? Let me see. Yeah. Just wait. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. Okay, so yeah, we'll do that, guys. I'll get back with you guys in a couple of hours. Peace, love, blessings. Until then, I'm out.